All right, hi guys, my name is Lenisha. I'm going to be teaching the basics of astrology, numerology, tarot. Okay, I may not have enough time. I think I got about an hour. Um, okay, maybe a little bit of almost 2 hours. Okay, so good. I can't really turn my camera how I want to, but it's great to have you guys. Once again, I don't know if I'll be able to touch bases on everything. So first, we're going to start off with the elements, okay? So let me erase this. This going to be pre-recorded for everyone else, so that's why I'm not waiting for anyone to just come in. So whoever comes in, they come in. Whoever doesn't, they don't. But it will be saved, okay? So I can't flip my camera, so you guys are gonna have to look at it from this way. Maybe I'll be able to flip my camera when I replay everything back. So I'm gonna start with the basics. Okay, the basics. Once again, it's a bit mirrored, so I'm gonna scoot you guys up some so that y'all can kind of see. All right, so we're gonna start off with the fire energy, and it equals wand energy. Okay, can't really see it as much. I'm gonna try to redo it. Okay, so instead of me putting everything on the board, I'm gonna start with, because I need to draw it huge so you guys will be able to see. Okay, so we got F. This is fire. Fire is most definitely gonna represent wands. Okay, this is usually the first suite, okay, of the deck. You know, there's fire, water, air, earth, right? Usually fire will come first because it refers to the days of the week. Okay, this is an arrow. It's a little got a lot going on. Okay, so you're just now joining in. Once again, we're talking about the basics when it comes to astrology, tarot, numerology, the list goes on. I may not be able to touch bases on everything. I don't know if I'm gonna get too much into a lot of these things. Once again, it's just the basics, okay? And this will also be uploaded to my YouTube. So we got the fire energy. Fire is usually Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. Okay? You may not be able to see that, but it's okay because all you need is your ears, really, and you could just take notes on your own. All right, so we got the fire here. This is my little fireball. Okay, and once again, it refers to the wand energy in tarot. Okay, I'm gonna put next to here tarot. Okay, and this is our time frame when we're talking about this. Okay, and this is the element. Okay, so I'll mainly just write it for me, and you guys just listen with your ears. All right, and this is our zodiac, which can also go hand in hand with astrology. Well, astrology mainly talks about the planets, but it also, of course, has your zodiac energies in there, okay? And if you don't know anything about these things, you can always do your research on it. A lot of times, astrology can tie in with your human design, your birth chart, okay? So we're gonna put underneath this human design and birth chart. I just wrote HD and BC. That can really be significant. I'm thinking of BCs, okay? So history most definitely can be significant. All right, so Aries, Leo, and Sag. Aries, I believe, is a mutable sign, if I'm not mistaken. Leo is a fixed sign, and Sagittarius is the cardinal sign, once again, if I'm not mistaken, because I didn't plan on really touching bases on the individual zodiacs, but and as you know, what I'm naming is cardinal, fixed, and mutable. Okay, I think I'm missing something. cardinal, mutable. This may seem a little bit unprofessional, but okay. My brain is actually all over the place. I just got done with 2 classes that I was taking for this semester. Going through my own personal chaos, right? So in the midst of everything, trying to find peace and balance. But let's get into it. So fire is going to be the wand energy. When we talk about tarot, right, we have cups, which ties to the emotions. We're going to get into that. We have the wands, which is what we're currently on right now. And I put it first because usually this is the first suite of tarot. Mainly to me personally because I learned that it represents the days. So if I see the Ace of Wands, I'm going to think about one day. If I see the 2 of Wands, I'm going to think about 2 days, right? Fire energy element, which represents Aries, Leo, Sag. Aries, Leo, and Sag, they all have their own individual energies. Usually when I think of Sagittarius, I think of people who are ambitious, bold, fearless. Okay, when I think of Leo, I usually think of people with big energies, right? They possibly have no trouble with being in the spotlight, right? Very possible glamorous energy for some. A lot of people may look at them as egocentric, but I don't believe every single person is the same, and you don't have to always base these things off of like every single thing. A lot of times people feel like it can be looked at as a guide or whatever the case may be. Now with Aries, I am a moon in Aries. Moon usually ties to emotions and feelings. So when I think of Aries, Aries refers to the ram energy, similar to Taurus, but Taurus is the bull. When I think of Aries, I think of possibly daring, maybe a bit bold as well, but I would say it's more of the fiery energy. Okay, I feel like these are my fighter energies. Okay, but love that. So what else am I missing with this fire energy? So with fire, it refers to let's go ahead and erase some things. All right, so with the fire energy, we can think of action. Okay, we can think of, and by all means, if you guys want to chime in the comments and add what you personally feel like it will represent. So I can ask you guys questions. What do you feel like fire sign can also represent? I'm gonna give out the basics. So first we have action, next we have energy. Okay, think of a ball of energy. Remember the fire. Okay, so energy. Okay, action and energy. Now, I may not touch bases once again on every single thing, but for right now, we'll keep it short and simple. When you think of fire, you can think of Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius, and you can think of, when it comes to tarot, that it represents the wands. And when you think of wands, once again, which is the fire energy, which represents action and energy, you can think of, for a time frame, days. So now we're gonna break it down, okay? All right, so I'm gonna put up here so you guys don't forget we're on fire right now. Oh, confirmation, we are on fire. All right, so fire, when we're talking about in tarot, we got 1, okay? We got 2, we got 3, we got 4, okay? So when we talk about wands, we usually are talking about what? New beginnings, okay? See, a lot of times when you're talking about the numerals, so now we're touching bases into the numerology aspects of everything, okay? We touch bases into the astrological and tarot and everything else. Now we're touching bases into numerology. So all these things can go hand in hand, right? See, me, when I first started in tarot, I wasn't as fluent in, you know, the elements and everything like that. I mainly knew my sun sign. I didn't really too much know about the moon signs, the rising signs, and everything like that. So when I first originally was getting into tarot, eventually I started getting deeper into astrology. Originally, I was a numerology girly. I was getting into tarot. Eventually, I started getting deeper into astrology. Originally, I was a numerology girly. Every time I seen angel numbers, I always looked them up. They always resonated with me. So that's kind of what pulled me towards this direction. And like over 2 years ago, before online divination was very popular, I seen a few people go online and give tarot readings. I always felt like it was voodoo, and I didn't even know what voodoo was. I thought voodoo was evil and everything like that. Turns out it's actually a practice. Some people may look at it as religion, but it's actually for good. It's not evil at all. Okay, we can't control who does things, right? Everybody are their own autonomous individuals, and we have free will. So we choose whatever we learn or come across. It's up to us to act with integrity or not, to act with light energy rather evil, right? Whatever that may mean. So when we're talking about the wands, right? Once again, this is the wand energy. Okay, when you think of wands, what do you think of? I think of like a wand, like a magician wand, right? A magic wand. And I also think of it as sparks coming from the wand. See, as I told you guys, personally, I was getting into things because of my own journey, just led me there naturally. It wasn't forceful. I actually wanted to get into tarot eventually. It wasn't right then and there. When I seen people on tarot, originally I was just, you know, the querent, the one getting the reading. I wasn't the actual one doing the reading for the querents. Okay, so in that midst of time, eventually I just started coming into the energy where I just got called to get my first oracle and tarot deck. Okay, and eventually I started learning the basics of everything, right? Because when you're doing tarot, the zodiac signs is included, numerology is included, like all of these things, right? So eventually you just start figuring things out and everything else. So I also did my own personal research. At times I personally felt like I didn't fully master everything like how I wanted, but we could be our worst critics, right? So moving on, when it comes to me personally, the basics, when we're talking about the one, right, we're going to get to the fire energy shortly. Right now we're focusing on the numerology of everything. So when I think of one, I think of new beginnings. Okay, we're going to keep it short and simple. A lot of times if you're doing a tarot reading and you don't know the traditional way of going about things, you can always just look at the imagery. What does the color mean? Are you out? Is this individual outside or the inside? What are they doing? So a lot of times you can just use your own intuition to be that guide for you when it comes to that. You don't necessarily have to always go based off the traditional way. It's up to you, okay? A lot of things were created before you came here, so it's already created. So it's up to you if you want to go based off what was already created or go based off what you personally create, right? Now, we got new beginnings. For two, it usually, to me, can tie to balance, okay? Duality. We're gonna use our big words here, okay? And with three, we can usually think of, especially, see, numerology's meanings and tarot's meanings are very different. So I'll give you guys, if it's necessary, I'll give you two separate meanings. One for tarot, one for numerology itself. Now, when we're talking about numerology or tarot, for one, new beginnings is still the basics. So we're going to keep that as is. Two, usually it's still the basics. In tarot, the two can signify, you know, things coming together, balance, union, okay, stuff like that. We'll just keep it at duality. Now with three, with numerology and tarot, it can shift just like with the number 5 and even possibly the number, I don't really want to say the number 4, but let's focus on what we're currently on. So we got 3 here. Usually I'll think of creativity, right? In tarot, usually if we're talking about the major arcanas, and I haven't touched bases on that yet, but when you talk about tarot, it breaks down into major arcana, which is usually angel number 0 through 20. I want to say 22, but it's possibly, I think it's 22. And then when you do the minor arcanas, we have a whole bunch of, because mind you, there's 78 decks. Not decks, sorry. There's 78 cards in in one deck. There's 22 major arcanas and the rest are minor arcanas. Major arcanas is usually your huge, big life events, okay? That could possibly be something that's ongoing. It doesn't have to be something that just happens, oh, one-time thing, you know, like the minor arcanas, right? Because the minor arcanas talks about day-to-day things, right? You know, just your day-to-day things or whatever the case may be. So when we talk about 3, it represents the Empress in tarot for the major arcana, right? So when you think of the Empress, she usually is the creation, right? The creator. So you can usually think of, for 3, creativity or collaboration, right? All right. Now with 4, we can usually think of stability, which of course in the major arcana, which would be the Emperor, we got stability. When you think of stability, what do you think of? 4, right? If I built this box, it has 4 sides, it's pretty stable, no? If I do a circle, it doesn't really have any 1, 2, 3, 4, and if you think about it, it'll possibly just roll off somewhere, right? However, with the square, it's just surface, it's just stable. If you think of a table, it has its legs and everything like that, right? So whatever you can do to help you keep these things in mind. See, for me, I guess, since I was actually interested in tarot and, you know, numerology and everything just kind of, you know, got implanted in my brain. I didn't really have to force myself to learn something, or it was bored to me, so I had to, you know, do this and do that. So somehow it just came very natural over the course of time. Personally, I learned that there's no finish line to growth. So at times that's what I tell myself, but you don't have to do that with you. Be mindful that you can have your own beliefs. You can have your own whatever, okay? So I'm not here to project on you and tell you that this is the way to do it, this is what this da-da-da-da-da. This is just what I've learned. You can always create things on your own and do things your own way. I believe that we all are very powerful and capable of that. But this is just like the traditional way, right? So 5. Here's our number 5. When we think about 5 in tarot, we usually think about problems. Scary, right? But it's okay. It's okay. That's the epitome of people feeling like there has to be positive and negative. There has to be, you know, there's problems and there's solutions. You know, you don't have to take that as your own, but that's just what the world just goes based off, right? Some of the world. In tarot, it usually talks about problems, okay? Not enough solutions. However, in numerology and tarot, it can also talk about change, okay? Especially in numerology. So we'll put change here. Okay, you guys may not really be able to see this as much. I'm gonna have to write a little bit better so that you guys can actually see what I'm writing. Okay, so we're gonna start with 6. We're gonna erase this. And then we're gonna do 6, 7, 8, and then 9, maybe 10, okay? All right, so with 6 in tarot, remember we talked about 5. See, a lot of these things is synchronicities. It goes in order. So a lot of these things, it can really make sense, all right? You can use your common sense and you'll pretty much get it. So if we're going based off 3, 4, 5, what's next? 6, okay? So usually, let's put 1, 2, and 3 here. It's the first, the origin. Then there's things coming together. And so when something comes together, there's like collaboration. Collaboration, there's stability, or whatever you want to name that for. Now, with the 5 here, we talk about the problems. Now, what's to come next after the problems? The solution, right? So, make sure you guys stay hydrated as well. Now, with our 6 here in tarot, it usually ties to solutions to the problems. Okay, usually in tarot, it talks about one situation that leads to another, that leads to another, that leads to another. You know, it's like an ongoing thing until it isn't. All right. I actually didn't even start off with the number 0, so we're gonna go ahead and start with 0 right now. What do you think 0 would tie to? Feel free to answer. If you don't want to answer, no problem. What do you think 0 will tie to? It's funny because I actually drew a circle earlier. If 1 ties to new beginnings, 2 ties to this, and when we're talking about tarot, usually the first card, which is themed as the number 0, will be the Fool card. Okay, the Fool. And the Fool usually, it's kind of as it sounds, foolish energy, immature energy, inexperienced, right? Now, when you think of 0, you can think of infinite, okay? Some of these things, it can seem like it go hand in hand. Sometimes it possibly doesn't seem that way, but everything will make sense once you really get into, you know, these things on your own. Okay. Infinite, infinity. It also can tie to infinite potential, unlimited possibilities. Okay. Now, after 5, which is our problems and everything in tarot, aside from tarot within numerology, it can tie to change, freedom, right? Now, with the 6, when it talks about tarot, it ties to our solutions to those problems, okay? And I actually do have a deck here to where I can show you guys as we go, which will be really good to do. I actually don't even have these in order. So, I may end up just putting them in order right now. Okay, yeah. So, I have under 50 minutes with you guys. So we're gonna try to hurry up and get all of these completed. Okay. So this is the wand energy that I was talking about. Okay. And this is all our major arcanas. Here's the full energy, which I believe this is the Uranus energy and the Aquarius energy, if I'm not mistaken. And that is the 0 card that I was talking about. You see how they are deemed as the Fool. We have the dog here, which also signifies purity, innocence, being a guide or a helper of this individual, right? Whether it's a literal physical dog in your reality or whether it's spiritual, right? Invisible forces. Now, as I was telling you guys before, if you're not going based off the traditional meanings, you can also go based off of what you see here. All right, this person, they're basically packing, I always forget the name of this, but they're clearly packing light. Okay, there's a dog here. They're actually not paying attention. They're just walking off in the sunset, right? And it seems as if they're gonna walk off a cliff. Now, in the background, you have icy mountains, it looks like. You have a background that's kind of yellow. Okay, this person has on green, yellow, orange, just different things, right? So we see 2 things in this image that's white. Depending on what deck you're using and everything like that, I feel like the sun is also kind of white as well, but it's also smearing in with the yellow. Okay, but on here, it's holding a white flower, which can also, once again, when you know your colors as well, You know that the color white can usually talk about what? Purity, etc. You know, hence like certain religious traditions, how if you get married, usually the bride wears white, signifying purity, signifying she is celibate, she hasn't yet had sexual relations with anyone. Okay. Now we're gonna put all the major arcanas separate. So this is what I mean by major and minor arcanas. See, your major arcanas are not anything that ties to cups, wands, pentacles, and cups. It usually is just its own major individual energies, right? The Fool, the Temperance, the Strength, the Tower. Okay. And I don't believe in coincidences, so a lot of you guys, this energy could literally be for you as well. Embarking on a brand new beginning, okay, pouring back into yourself, being courageous, things happening out of the blue. And do know that everything doesn't have just one meaning. That's why I was telling you guys, there's like, this tarot is very broad, okay? There's many things to get, to touch bases on. All right, but as I said before, I'm going to be separating these. So we got our major arcana and we have the minor arcanas, which is the wands and everything else. And right now we're currently talking about the wand energy right now, which is of course representing fire, which fire represents action and energy. And if you think of a time frame, it represents days. Okay. Now with the cup energy, which of course later on we're going to get into that. Hopefully we have enough time. It usually represents months if we're going to talk about a timeline. The cup energy, if you think about it, with the water energy, water elements are usually Scorpio, Cancer, and or Pisces. And when you think of water, you can think of emotions. You can think of relationships, okay? Love, or, you know, that type of stuff. Now, first we have the wand energy. Next we have the sword energy, okay? And also when you talk about the minor arcanas, it's also broken down as well, like separately. We got the wands, we got the cups, we know that, right? But I'm also talking about, what do you see here out of this energy and possibly the other energies? This is our pentacle energy. What do you see? What's the difference? A person. So this is our court cards. When we talk about the court cards, it's usually referring to the people, okay? Characteristics. Usually it's talking about a person's personality or what someone is encouraged to operate in at that moment, okay? So once again, we're just separating all of these. So we're going to put our major arcana over there. We're going to start off with our wand energy. Then we're going to come into our sword energy. And this is not in order, by the way. These are 8 wands, okay? So we're very far from number 1, okay? So if you think of what we just talked about, the wand energy, and this is 8, what do you think the time frame is for this energy? And by all means, if you don't know, it's totally fine. Sometimes it takes either muscle memory or you just constantly being exposed to this type of stuff so that you can retain the information. So if you don't know instantly, it's totally fine. This is not choreography. You don't have to get it right then and there, okay? Now, the answer is 8 days, okay? If you're asking for a time frame and you get the 8 of wands, depending on who the reader is, there's a lot of people, right? Some people read intuitively, some people read traditionally, whatever the case may be. Mind you, a lot of times beliefs are very strong opinions, okay? Not necessarily facts. However, beliefs are still very powerful, whether they are real or not. You can actually bring your beliefs to reality. You can actually bring them to life. You don't have to believe that. That's just something that I've learned. I'm not saying everything that I learned or even teach could even be something that could resonate with you, or it could even be the case in situations, right? And I say this because once upon a time I was religious and I always had different viewpoints on everything. So of course, when I believed in Jesus and all of these things, I actually felt like this was real and true. When I prayed, I actually felt like I received answers, etc. Even now, as I'm not religious, I still would pray and it would be the complete same, right? Nothing's changed. So it's like whatever you put a name to, a face on, whatever, that's just your prerogative. Okay? Whatever these things mean to you. Okay? A lot of times I've learned to just sit with myself on things and to go within, ask myself questions, and I will get a response. Okay? Meditation could help. Journaling could help. Journaling I really recommend because it actually helped me tap in with my subconscious a lot of times. But like I said, you guys, we are eventually going to be running out of time, so I'm not going to talk too much. Okay? So we're gonna move all of these, and when you look at the cards, we got numerology involved, we got astrology involved, we got the elements, the zodiac signs involved. It's just, excuse me, very beautiful energy. Okay, and as I told you guys, as always, when you see cup energy, think of the zodiac signs, Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces, because whatever the cup energy is talking about, it's either going to refer to the water signs, what water energy gives, right? Emotions, love, relationships, or whatever the case may be. So, of course, this king energy, and gender fluid by all means, this can be, you could be a woman and get this card, right? It can also talk about people outside of your own energy, like a mentor or whatever. So when you're looking to this energy, I know we're still talking about the wand energy and everything, but you know, the king also breaks down into this own thing, especially when we're talking about the cardinal signs, the fixed signs, the mutable signs. And do know that, yeah, so it's only 3 of those. There's 4 separate elements: earth, water, fire, earth. And there's 3 separate cardinal, fixed, and mutable signs. Fixed sign is usually the stubborn energy, you know, fixed, right? When you think of something that's fixed, you think of something that's the same or whatever the case may be. Our fixed signs are usually Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius. Okay? But yeah, when you think about the kings, I believe that the kings are the cardinal, no. The queens are the cardinal energies, I believe. See, I haven't really touched bases on those in a while. And when I first learned about it, I didn't really fully like get into it, and you know, I just instantly remembered it for some reason. And then when I wasn't studying more onto it, I guess I just slowly forgot about it. But so when we talk about the core cards, it breaks down into kings, queens, knights, and pages. These are all our person cards, which talks about people, whether it's you as a person, the people in your life, or the energy that is encouraging you to operate in, okay, or the energy that you or other people are operating in. Okay, so and see, the reason why I say it's 3 for mutable, cardinal, and fixed, because then I started second guessing myself when I realized that there's like 4 different categories of such. But I guess the page energy just falls in line with anything. But I can't really recall when I actually wanted to come on here and teach this type of stuff like months ago, but I never really found the time to do so. And I was gonna possibly just go with the flow or whatever the case may be, but this was very spontaneous today. One day I just decided, okay, I'm gonna go to the school and I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, because I have to do like a couple things today, especially this time to being at the school anyway. The crazy thing is that the school actually closes early today, the library specifically, and I believe they close at 4. So I can always, of course, go back to where I currently am and teach this to you guys there, but I just don't like the atmosphere there. It's a bit negative, and yeah. See, before I had enough energy to, you know, be able to still be around that type of environment or space, but I I guess I realized I slowly became more drained and irritated and everything else. So it's just not really a good place for me, especially when it comes to doing things that I actually like to talk about or know what I'm talking about or enjoy doing, right? I haven't even got on live. I'm not gonna really say it's because of the environment, because this has been going on for years now. But that can play a big part in it. Originally, I was busy. Well, I'm not gonna say busy, but I was hanging out with like a friend, and usually when I'm like hanging out with them, I actually don't really be on my phone as much. So yeah. All right, so let's get back into it. So we got the wand energy, we got the sword energy, we got the cup energy, we got the pentacle energy. Pentacle ties to earth. Earth ties to Taurus, Capricorn, and Virgo. It's usually the slower element, right? The slow and steady wins the race type of energy when we talk about speed or momentum, okay? Now, when you think of the earth energy as a timeline, this will be last, so of course we will think of years, right? So for the wand energy, we'll think, oh, the 8 of Wands, okay, 8 days, right? We got the sword energy. This is the Queen of Swords. So the Queen, she's just the Queen. She's not, oh, the Ace of Swords, the 10 of Swords. She's the Queen of Swords, right? So when we're talking about a timeline with this, me personally, when I'm reading intuitively or whatever the case may be, I'll just say that this is the timeline. The timeline is anywhere between a certain amount of weeks plus, okay? Give or take. Now, when we move forward to, and once again, with the sworn energy, it's the air element. Air element ties to Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius, okay? It can also tie to the mental, communication, travel, okay? Those type of things. And if we're talking about the momentum or speed when it comes to the wand energy, I know I'm like everywhere with this, sorry about that. But that's usually quick with the quickness energy, okay? When we're talking about the fiery energy and everything like that. And as I had told you guys before, when we're talking about the pentacle energy, it's usually the more slower, you know, slow and steady wins the race type of energy. Thank you for double tapping the screen. Welcome in. We are currently talking about the basics of, you know, tarot, astrology, numerology, you know, those type of things. All right. So when you think of the air energy, once again, Gemini, Libra, Aquarius energy, okay? And if you think of a particular time frame, think of weeks, okay? Think of weeks. Once again, with the fiery energy, it's with the quickness. You think, if you're looking for a time frame, you think of days, okay? It's up to you. It can be anything you want. Hell, if you say the 8 of Wands is 15 years, it's 15 years, okay? But traditionally, what I've learned with this, I'm just saying, I've learned the wand energy is usually the quickest energy. And if we're talking about a time frame, it's usually referring to days, okay? We're talking about the the sword energy is usually the more air, mental energy, which a lot of times can talk about travel, communication, mentality, you know, or the mind, that type of energy. And it usually talks about the time frame weeks, okay? It's in order. So of course, next, what do you think is next? If next is going to be cups and last is pentacles, and we already talked that pentacles was years, and it's more of the slower, steady paced energy, right? It's going to be months, okay? So this is another king energy, queen, king personality cards, which, what did we say it was? Come on, don't let me die. What did we say it was? Court cards, okay? You can probably think of the adjudication system, okay, to help you remember the people in the minor arcanas. When you think of the people in the minor arcanas, it's usually talking about characters, characteristics, people, persons, personalities, right? Okay, this can be your energy or it can be other people's energy. It can be people who are already in your energy, whether you're at a distance from them or not, energetically, physically, or whatever it may be. or it can talk about people outside, like people who's to come, right? Now with the cup energy, once again, it refers to months, okay? So let's go ahead and put all of these in order. What time is it? It's 3:28, so I don't have as much time with you guys. Okay, I may end up doing a reading today as well. I haven't done a reading for the collective in a while. I did one yesterday, but I wasn't really sitting in there spending my time on the reading or whatever. It was like something that was quick. All right, what I'm doing now is just putting them in order based on the suits, which is wands, swords, cups, and pentacles. And I'm separating the minor arcana from the major arcana. And if you're just now coming in and you don't know what I'm talking about, we've already touched bases on that. I don't have enough time to like re-explain as I was doing earlier. Surprisingly, we're almost literally out of time. I thought I would literally get through all of these things. All right, because we haven't even touched basis on like the basics of tarot's meanings either, but it's totally fine. And remember the Empress energy I was talking to you guys about earlier. What does she give? Very earthy energy, right? So if we're thinking of earth, we usually think of Taurus, Capricorn, or Virgo. She most definitely is representing Taurus energy. Okay, shout out to the Tauruses. Happy belated birthday. All right. Ooh. And it's very interesting with tarot as well. When you talk about the Magician, which I didn't show you, the number 0 is the Fool, the number 1 is the Magician energy. The Magician is the card that has all the suits inside of them, okay? The Cup, the Pentacle, the Wand, the Sword, and also has the Infinity symbol. Also is holding up the staff towards up and down, right? Talking about as above. It really depends on who you are when you talk about these things. You can either look at it as, well, I was gonna say as above, so below, but that's not really what it refers to. It really refers to being connected to both the higher realms and the earthly plane, okay? Spirit and earth. They also have on this red cloak. They have all of these things matter. All of these symbols, the snake biting its tail surrounding its abdominal area, all of these things like are really important. But as I said before, I won't really be able to get into the basics of all of these things like I thought I was, especially where I am right now, because they're about to get ready and close. And remember that I was telling you guys it's either angel number 0 through 21 or 0 through 22 when we're talking about all the cards of the major arcana deck. If you look at the world card, this is the last major arcana. The first one is the number 0, which is the Fool. The last one is the World card, which talks about majority of the fixed sign energy, which we talked about already. Okay, I'm covering it up because she actually doesn't have on a bra, a shirt, or anything like that. So I don't want to get restricted or anything. But yeah, all of these cards really tell you a story. Okay, and if you actually think about it, some people, they don't read the cards as traditional. They go based off their intuition, their own, what they create on their own. So there's no right or there's no wrong way to read or anything like that. Like I said, you can always go based off what was already created, or you can just create what you feel, right? But on here it has the angel number 21, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not the best with Roman numerals, even though I have Roman numerals on my arm, child. I would literally not know what this says if I didn't actually know what I put on my arm. But it has at the bottom XXII, 1. And I believe the X's are the 10s. So we have 10 plus 10, which is 20, and then we have the 1 here. So I believe it goes to angel number 0 to 21. I don't know why I thought 22, but if that's 22, if that's a Roman number 22, then okay. But moving on, we got the Lovers up there, and the Lovers is the 6th card of the deck. Okay, it's the number 6 card. Oops, sorry, I didn't cover down the bottom area. And with 6, as we talked about before, usually it can talk about the solutions to the problems, right? But in this specifically, which is the Lover energy, it can talk about, honestly, relationships. If you're just going based off the card and not really the numbers, I'm kind of having a brain fart right now, sadly. But let's go ahead and move on. And then here's our Virgo energy, the number 7 card. And we're actually about to start. Well, in certain tarot decks, you may see numbers switched around. Like you may see where the Chariot is supposed to be, the Strength is there. Or, you know, so it really all depends on the traditional deck that you're using, how you're reading it, what you're going based off of. Like I said, a lot of people are traditional readers. A lot of people are intuitive readers. A lot of people read however the hell they want to read and they read how everybody else reads. It's like, it's really no wrong way, okay? That's like saying when you come into the world, oh, this is the way that we all know, so this is how you have to go. But apparently we can do anything. We can believe in anything. We can, right? Because we have free will. So it's really all up to you. All right. Now, this is low-key referring to, because last time I checked, I usually thought the Hermit was, I don't know why I thought the Hermit was number 7, like in my mind. But as I'm looking up and obviously that's not right, because I believe the Chariot is like the 7th card in the major arcana. But on here, it says that the Hermit is the number 9th card. So I believe it comes after the Strength card. And once again, as I told you guys, it's literally a synchronicity. It's literally sequence. It's literally going in order, okay? So let me see if I can find a match for something. It's like, say for instance, going through the Tower moment, right? After the Tower moment, there's rejuvenation. There's peace. There's this. Right, so that's what I mean, like by the order. We already talked about a little bit of this earlier, so don't worry, I will upload this video after I'm done. But let's go ahead and move back to the board. For some reason, I know I came here for a reason to show you guys some things with the card, but child, I'm all over the place today, and we've just been talking about different stuff. Okay, so let's move back to this. We just got done talking about that 6 energy, right? When I mentioned the Lovers, okay? Now, let's see. Once again, we are still on fire. That's crazy, right? We have 4 other suites we need to talk about. I keep saying suites, child. Who went to a hotel? What is significant about a hotel, child? But I meant to say suits, okay? Fire, which of course equals the 1 energy. And right now we're talking about angel number 6. So a lot of times when we're talking about numerology in tarot, it breaks down into different things. A lot of time it can talk about the meaning in tarot, the meaning in numerology, right? It's different. And some of you guys came in late, but the perfect example that I used, which was with angel number 5, when you think of 5 in numerology, you usually think of change, okay? And freedom, right? We can also talk more about this with the angel number 10, but in tarot itself, it can usually talk about problems, not enough solutions. And as I told you guys, it goes in order. So what comes after all of those problems, not enough solutions? 6, that's when the solutions come in, okay? So all of these things have many, many meanings, but we're kind of touching basis on the basics at the moment. There's always a lot of more things to be said, but sometimes I probably not touch bases on every single thing. I probably forgot to mention a lot of things already. I'm not going to say a lot, but I probably forgot to mention certain things because I'm pretty much like, I don't have an outline. I just actually went with the flow, whatever comes to my mind, honestly. But moving on to 7, okay? What do you think 7 would usually tie to? I know a lot of times in numerology, we have a lot of numbers that are very famous, right? So usually a lot of people associate it with luck, lucky charms, okay? So depending on what you're talking about, whether it's tarot or specifically numerology, and once again, you guys, a lot of things doesn't just have one meaning, okay? So angel number 6, angel number 5, angel number 1, all of these things can mean many things, okay? But with 7, of course, it means a lot of other things besides luck. It can also mean discipline, and a lot of it really depends on what you're talking about, whether it's tarot, whether it's numerology, whatever the case may be, right? But the basis will just keep it at luck. Now 8, what is 8? If you think about it, it's low-key the infinity symbol. We literally just talked about the infinity symbol when we were talking about the magician energy. So when you think of 8, you can think of abundance. Once again, there's many meanings. Okay, I'm gonna try to go a little faster. 9. And over the course of time, I actually shifted my definitions of things. Like when I was talking about the number 5, I never really thought of 5 as freedom until, you know, I was just learning more and everything else. So I just started coming into new things. So that's where I had got that energy of from like the 5 energy that I was talking about. Because I know some of you guys, when you heard me say freedom, you probably was like, I've never heard that before, right? Or you probably didn't think twice about it. But with number 9 here, it usually can tie to completion, okay? In tarot specifically, I'm having a brain fart again. But yeah, whether it's tarot or anything, like I told you guys, it can have multiple meanings, but we'll just keep it at completion. Now, what do you think the number 10 would be? Okay, the funny thing is, it's actually a double number. So 1 and then 0. We talked about 0 tying to infinite potential, unlimited possibilities. We talked about 1 being new beginnings, right? So if you put 10 all together, what do you think it can be? There's no wrong answer, okay? Okay. Finality/finality. Okay? Or there we go. This is what y'all was looking for, right? Endings. Okay? Now, what year are we in right now? We're in the year of 2025. It's about to get ready to end. Then we'll be transferring to the year 2026. 2 plus 2 is 4. Plus the 5, it equals 9. We are currently in the year of the snake. The snake, that's separate. That's still a part of astrology, right? Depending on what we're talking about. If we're talking about the Chinese zodiac signs and whatever, the snake, okay? You probably, if some of you guys are not really familiar with that and you're familiar with the other cultural zodiac signs like Taurus, Capricorn, so the bull and, you know, all of that other stuff, then that's what you're used to. You probably didn't really hear about the snake, okay? Some of you guys, you probably did. We're in the year of 9, which usually a lot of you guys could possibly be shedding. That's what snakes do, right? Shedding into new skin. Transformation is what I think of when I think of snakes and everything else. And once again, the 9, we talked about completion. So you could be wrapping up a lot of things in this year, okay? I know before in 2024, everybody was like, all right, 2025, this is my year. As we always say every year, right? Okay, some people, they didn't gave up on the New Year's resolutions. They was like, look, I'm just living, okay? I'm just alive. But a lot of things could be getting wrapped up in this time, okay? And by the year of 2026, I feel like a lot of things are going to already be put to an end. I don't feel like it's going to travel with you in the year of 2027. So, we got 2 plus 2 is 4, and then plus the 6, we got 10, okay? I want to see how I was going to do that without having to erase anything like I did with the 9, but it's the 10. Keep that up there. All right, and once again, 10 ties to the endings, okay? So we have done 0 through 10, but in tarot, of course, we have 78 cards in the deck, okay? But usually we stop at the major arcanas, which of course will be all the way to angel number 21. For some reason, I want to say 22 really bad, but okay, to each his own, okay? Next, 11, 12, 13, 14, all the way so on and so on. But we're not going to really touch bases on that because I'm not really going to have enough time. Okay, but I can actually sit down and talk to you guys more about that itself. So when we talked about 0, we talked about the unlimited possibilities, infinite potential, etc. So when we're talking about the fire energy of wands, right? We talked about action energy represents the fire energy. It's usually the quick energy, right? Compared to every other suit or element is what I meant to say. Now, if we think of actually 0, the only number that 0 is referring to is in the major arcana. When we're talking about the minor arcana, it always starts at 1. So the ace, we don't usually say the 1 of wands. We usually just say the ace of wands. Okay, so I'm not going to write out wands because wand is right there, okay, which represents fire. So when you think of the ace of wands, what do you think of? Remember, I told you guys, when we talk about ace, we talk about new beginnings. Okay, I spelled that wrong, but don't mind that. Talk about the new beginnings. So if you talk about the ace of wands and you gave somebody a reading, what would you tell them? And when you're giving somebody a reading, they are known as the querent. Querant, the querent. Okay, so when you're giving the querent a reading and you give them the ace of wands, what are you going to tell them? This is the wand, and I'm going to get the imagery out for you guys. Okay, so we have our ace of wands right here. All right, this is the traditional deck. This is usually, if you get a traditional deck, this will always like pretty much be how it's gonna look. Okay, usually this is referring to God itself bringing something into you. But hey, you can think of it as a random person if you want. It's really all up to you. Like I said, there's no wrong way when it comes to things. Okay, and once again, you guys, sorry about like, you won't really be able to see this in a mirrored way. It kind of looks backwards. I actually was trying to look for the filter, but I couldn't find it because I guess the Wi-Fi is not as grand as I thought it would be. It's actually pretty fine because it actually did not lag or anything at all, but it was actually very slow to pull up the filter for me to switch this around. So that's why I'm kind of being extremely vocal with you guys in case you can't really see with my messy handwriting and, you know, it being kind of backwards. But that's why I told you guys, mainly what you really need to do is just hear, and then you can take notes yourself if you want. And like I said, this video will be uploaded to my YouTube, so you can always go back to it. My apologies, it is kind of all over the place because I just honestly went based off of passion and just going with the flow. I didn't really create an outline like I originally planned on doing some months ago. But the Ace of Wands, okay? If you pull this for the querent, like, oh, let me shuffle. You know, a lot of people, they don't shuffle the deck. Some people, a lot of people do things differently. But however it is that you're getting the card, if you just have the querent themselves pick the card up, or if you pick the card up, or if you shuffle it out, or whatever, and they get this, what are you going to say? If we talked about the ace being new beginnings amongst, you know, it can mean any and everything. But when we talk about the basics, it's fine. You can actually do a really good reading just knowing the basics. Okay, you can know one definition of this card, and you can literally give the best reading of somebody's life, right? Now, do I recommend just only knowing one? No, because honestly, you can dive deeper into other things, because little do you know, you can look at this and you will probably say something that the average person probably wouldn't say, simply because you probably did more learning, or you probably sat with yourself on the energy and thought, what does this mean to me? I see that this is a wand here. When I look at it, it looks like a branch. Like in real life, if I just sit with myself, it looks like a branch off a tree with little leaves, right? So somebody may be doing a reading and say, oh, well, the time when you got your butt whooped with that switch, you know, I'm picking up on that, so I'm picking up on your ancestors, right? You know, so it's really just, you have fun with it. You just give a reading intuitively, or the traditional way, or whatever. But if you pull this out, you will basically say that somebody is about to have a spark of inspiration, basically. Hold on, you guys. All right, you guys. Oh my gosh, this whole time we didn't have the music playing. Okay, you guys, I'm gonna have to wrap this up. I hate that we did not touch bases on the other energies, but it's okay. I guess I'll just break it down into 4 separate parts, or whatever the case may be, because I still have to turn in my laptop, and they actually close in 10 minutes. So I'm gonna go ahead and end the live. I actually forgot I had to turn in my laptop, because I pretty much finished my classes for the semester. But I do see a few familiar faces. It's great to have you guys again. I see a few new faces. Welcome, welcome. Hope to see you again. But I will see you guys in the next